adding Coken, going, oh, okay, well, that's where they had some news many years ago.
You either be on water, protected waterlands or wetlands,
Yeah.
or you have to be outside the city limits, or
Yeah.
have a rain garden. You can apply for one of
I
the
thought-
rain gardens.
Or no council members.
I thought, well, that's a really good name,
Judy doesn't
adding
have any
Coken,
kind
it
of-
has a rhythm to it,
He's even got on the right of it, got basically water bill,
Yeah, okay.
and he's got.
It just follow the ordinance.
Okay.
We did the same thing with
Early
the boulevard thing too, is where they,
It starts to get
I'd love to
questionable.
sell my lawn, but I wouldn't know how.
I'd say 25 minutes.
the real difference is what's the difference, where it lies and the codes.
And it is in
But,
the.
I mean, yeah. I just don't think you're gonna, if you call, they can give you the exact number. Oh,
Okay, yeah.
it was so good.
Yeah.
I had to drive down across tonight, so I'm
And
trying
we
to.
really love the
trying to-
Tasca
I
State
mean,
Park. I mean, walking across the Mississippi and
I would like to be
wading
warmer.
down the
Bring
Mississippi
their
and then
instruments.
getting out and
I
finding all the
didn't
beaches
plant that, I
on
have
the
a plant
left.
just
I
going,
mean,
and even though it's
it's a great
49.
experience.
Yeah, so Debbie and I were deciding, because we've got about 20 outside.
Yeah.
Big pods. Big pods can't do anything to it, so you can't cover it. You just planted them, they're tall and spindly, it's just,
You hope that they all just live. I'm so glad I didn't put my
And then
vegetables
there's
in
the
it. I mean, I
sign,
only put the ones in
from
that are.
here starts the Mississippi,
Can handle a little bit
2,000
cold, but I was gonna plant
miles
this
to the
Saturday, I
Gulf
was
of
gonna plant.
Mexico. And
But then the touch of truck wiped me
I
out.
hope
so I
everybody in
didn't do
Minnesota
it.
has done that because it's a great opportunity.
I looked at someone and I said, I know we have 28,000 people here, but they said the children's club
Oh, yeah.
climbed out of like the bases of trees or
I
something.
didn't see it advertised that much.
Yep.
But I heard one of my grandsons was out there, one of my kids are just bowling everywhere.
I have a lot of
Well, western Minnesota and then you're into the Dakotas and it's
They
flat.
ride around with those strollers. I was laughing out loud.
But Pipestone is
They
really
had
cool.
like, some
I've stayed at the Calumet Hotel.
I just haven't decided what I want.
stuffed animals.
I've been to the Pipestone National Monument and I've seen all the stuff.
Some of the businesses got involved. Some of the kids, and the touch of trucks. I didn't see what camp it was, but they had like little foam things on the end and they were
Hanley
shooting it,
Falls,
hanging stuff in. I was just laughing. 'Cause, you
It has
know,
a wonderful
There they
museum
are.
inside
Yeah.
a converted
it was
school.
good. I was exhausted. But it was good.
I've done enough tourism councils and commissions and stuff, so I've traveled basically all over the state.
Yeah.
I had heard
Yeah, you're right. Granite Falls, Hanley Falls, the whole area.
I'm gonna give a rebate.
It's wonderful as far as the state goes. Yeah.
Right away.
We got our new one going. We'll talk less tourism, more localism here.
Let me know.
Five, four, three, two,
There we go.
6:30.
6:30, I'll call the meeting to order. Stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Couple of things here before we get started. I'd just like to take a moment to say a big thank you to all the people involved in the Touch a Truck event Saturday in downtown Winona. I know David Bittner did a lot, but the Main Street program, the chamber, the city was well represented there with the fire trucks and police vehicles and street sweepers and all kinds of things. It was really a nice event, and it was great to see Councilwoman Alexander slinging hot dogs and the hot dog wagon and everything, and lots of families downtown, so it was fun. Also, we had a great kickoff to the Winona Municipal Band on Saturday night. They showed a movie and brought in a pianist and the musical score that was written by the first conductor of the Winona Municipal Band, and I think it was a great kickoff with a big crowd for the centennial year of the band. Also want to mention to the council members that Steve Jacobs, the county board chair, and I have both been talking a little bit about the possibility of having a joint meeting between the county commissioners and the city council members, possibly some Saturday morning, where we would be sharing some projects that we think would have an interest of both the county and the city. So the city staff and county staff are trying to set that up, so just a heads up on that. And that's all I have. City manager, acting city manager tonight, Keith?
No, I have nothing else.
Okay, we'll call, roll call.
Mayor Peterson.
Here.
Councilman Thurley.
Here.
Craig.
Here.
Alexander.
Here.
Iden. Borzakowski.
Here.
Double.
Here.
Under the petitions, requests, and communications, item 3.1 is a request for premises permits for lawful gambling for the Warrior Club to be used at Schneep's Bar and the 500 Club.
Move to approve that request.
Second.
Motion by George and seconded by Michelle. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.2 is a request to hold the Winona Municipal Band Centennial Celebration fireworks in Unity Park on Wednesday, August 5th. Maynard Johnson is here as our members of the municipal band.
I move to approve that request.
Second.
Motion by Michelle and seconded by Al. Anybody wish to say anything about the centennial this year? Maynard's never at a loss for words.
I'll try to be short. You know what that's like?
20 minutes.
No, it's less than that. Mayor and council, first of all, thanks for approving the fireworks. That should be a good time, but.
Haven't approved it yet.
Now it's in question.
Anticipate approval. But inside the packet, just for people to know as well, we actually have inside there 10 different concerts throughout the summer, starting with June 10th. And actually that time we'll have 10 years in each one of those concerts. And we have some really gracious sponsors that actually have sponsored those concerts, and then we have some special events on each one of them. We've got some ice cream socials, we got some other types of events. But then that August 5th that we're coming to you right now is going to be alumni night, and Merchants Bank is going to sponsor a picnic down at the JC shelter for the alumni and all the people of the community. And then we'll also have the concert, and then at the very end we'll shoot off the fireworks from the hospital area. And that's actually sponsored by the Steamboat Days and the Sloggy Family Foundation. And then, Eric, where are you at? Eric is actually going to do a special piece on the 12th for us, and it's pretty awesome. And it'll be dedicated for this event. And that piece actually, when he's commissioned to do that, he'll do all the different pieces for the band. We'll be able to keep that in our library and be able to play that elsewhere. But besides that, he's going to commission that, and it'll say on there, made for the municipal band of Winona, Minnesota for the centennial celebration, and that'll go all over the world. So that's kind of a cool piece as well. Am I correct? Yes. All right. With that too, we have some special guest people like Ashley Hall, who is a really good trumpeter, so we're going to have some special things there. And each different week, we're actually going to have somebody special or something special different than what we normally do. So each one 10 years. And then there's also some information in here because we've done really well. We had a zero budget, so we've actually did all these types of things through generous donations through the community and whatnot. The Winona Foundation sponsored $4,000 grant for us. We're actually going to do a video of this whole thing, and hopefully it will go to the Frozen River Festival as well for part of that video. What else are we going to do? The Winona Community Foundation sponsored $2,500 to do miscellaneous things throughout the event, and there's been all kinds of other sponsors for different types of things or parts of this. Anything anybody else wants to add? This is our committee cruise home.
Don't forget the door prizes. You gotta get there early and get your number.
At 7:30 or somewhere in between there, between that and 8 o'clock, because these guys practice. For those that don't know, the only time the municipal band practices is the week before the day of the concert. And so they'll be practicing ahead of time, and then there's about a half-hour area that the sponsors will be able to bring some things up there. And at that same time, Frank Burris went out and got some donations so that we can do a little two at a time, two each concert, one or two each concert for prizes. Yep. There's some other things that are going on, but basically that's what it is. But we've had a pretty small committee that's done this. There's probably counting substitutes, there's about 80 people in the band, and we had probably 10 in our committee that did most of these things. So there's a lot of other things, and they put the information in here. I do want to say one thing, that for the press particularly, do not go by our concert events because there's been a change. Ashley Hall will now be July 15th instead of July 22nd, so we'll try to make that change for you. Okay? Anything? You guys want to add anything? Everybody's had a little bit of different parts of the committee. We've all worked well. And
If you missed Saturday night, you really missed something. But you ain't heard nothing yet.
all right. Anybody else want to say something? Go ahead, Doc.
I'd just like to thank this city council and the previous 99 city councils for sponsoring this band. There were some tough times. You'll learn about this if you come to the concerts. We'll have a little 5-minute historical vignette during each concert. And the band had some tough times, but still prevailed to be the longest continuously performing municipal band west of the Mississippi. So that's a record for Winona, and thank you all very much.
We are keeping everything up to date on the website, winonamunicipalband.org. So things change along the way, so we're directing everybody to either our Facebook page or that website, because it'll constantly be updated with the latest information. Another thing we're working with is putting together arts partners for as many concerts as we can, like the Great River Shakespeare Festival. The Historical Society is going to join us, Marine Art Museum, and some others. And they will donate tickets to our door prizes and just be there to be able to talk about their organizations. Because it's, we just think this is all about community. So I think that's,
Tell them what it is.
I said, winonamunicipalband.org. I'm also the treasurer, and today we got our 99th donation. And we've just had an overwhelming response from the community, and it's just been a thrill to raise, to get all this excitement about this event. Everybody I talk to is.
We can always use more.
We can always.
You need a form to fill out?
It's on the website.
Well, thank you for all you do for our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maynard. Well, we have a motion and a second. Al, you want to say something?
Yeah, over the years I served on council, the band and the allocation for budgets has been a special emphasis for me to continue the funding. And in research for another project, I came across a newspaper article where the city was putting to the voters a request to change the street names to numbers, and the avenues, or the east-west roads to avenues, and the north-south streets to streets. And that failed, but at that same vote, the band tax passed. So I think the voters made a wise choice, and I think that this centennial celebration is also a wide choice, and one where people will benefit, and I'm crossing my fingers for absolutely perfect weather every Wednesday of this celebration.
I'll mention, we have a rain venue this year.
Oh, you do?
Yes. Most of the concerts, if it rains, will be in Thompson.
That's right,
auditorium.
at
And one
Winona
of them
State.
will be a page, but that'll be all on the website. And it's determined that day, so we can't tell you ahead of time.
Okay,
Let's
thank
hope
you.
it'll be all at Lake Park and a wonderful band show. Thank you, Mayor.
Refurbished, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Item 3.3 is a request for a utility bill reduction for 660 East 7th Street, Robert and Molly Becker.
Your name and address, I think we know, but state it for the record.
Dear council members, hello, my name is Molly Becker of 660 East 7th Street, my residence for the last 10 years. I'm requesting a reduction of my water bill, which is substantially more than normal usage. Over the last 6 months, I have had numerous plumbing issues, primarily in the basement bathroom. The toilet overflowed 3 times and we had the plumber come twice to snake out the sewage line, which cost money and resulted in water damage to the floor. That issue has been resolved after he was able to clear tree roots from the sewer pipe. A few months later, the upstairs toilet broke and would not flush. My husband turned off the water and we didn't use the bathroom until we could afford to send in a plumber, as we also needed a more water-efficient toilet. I kept the door locked since I didn't want my 5-year-old child getting in there, as he is autistic and gets into trouble with his curiosity of how things work. I did check it daily and did not hear water running. Unbeknownst to us, apparently water was still going down the toilet even after the toilet valve was shut off. The same day as the plumber came to replace the toilet, later on the water department came by due to our high level of water usage, unbeknown to us at that time. We told them of the issue and they double-checked the water pipes and things were functioning properly. I also asked if someone could double-check the water meter a few days later to make sure if we were at normal water usage, as we have never had an issue before. This has been very stressful to our family, who is on a very limited budget due to job losses when the economy went into a recession, and we are still recovering from that unexpected monetary emergencies. I am able to contribute to society through community service if that is possible to reduce our bill. But I am currently substitute teaching, so payments fluctuate in value, and budgeting for this unexpected expense is difficult. I would truly appreciate a reduction in our water bill, as I love living in this community and the friendly people who have compassion and generosity. Thank you. Sincerely, Molly Becker.
Okay, thank you. Keith, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just that the water department was there and did determine that the toilets had been leaking and they had been fixed. So the problem has been taken care of. But the water did go down the sewer and the water was used.
Is there any action the council would like to take? Al?
I would like to make a motion. I think I've made these motions in the past because we've dealt with these issues, and recognizing the fact that bills are a combination of water usage as well as sewer usage. And in the case of those toilets that, excuse me, overflowed or caused just treated water to flow into the sewer system. In the past, in some instances, we've reduced those water bills to recognize the fact that treated water went into the sewer system and didn't cause us any extra expense as far as treating that water once it went through the sewer system. So Given that, I would like to make a motion that we reduce this utility bill by $300.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Further discussion? I tend to vote against these. You know, I'm very sympathetic to the homeowner here in the situation, but, you know, I would rather see a no interest, spread out payment plan or something like that to help the homeowner than these requests that we get so often just to reduce their bills. And so I will vote against it.
Well, in response to that, Mayor, I don't believe we get these bills that often.
Had quite a few.
And I think that the city in these circumstances can take each individual circumstance under advisement and make, I think, a good decision. I think the homeowner, as she stated, has done everything possible in terms of repairing the leaky facilities and recognizing the fact that there's some income concerns here. I think the city can generously go ahead and modify this bill. I don't think in this case a payment plan would be as beneficial as a reduction in the total utility bill, as I've stated.
Well, I understand
previously.
your point, and I can appreciate it. George?
You know, we have, people that come before us, with utility bill reductions, and, if they're honest about their story, which this young lady certainly is, sometimes everyone is not sometimes honest in their request for a reduction. I've always voted for reductions in the water bill. I think it's an okay policy. I know there's sometimes, we may have, I know we had one down on Wall Street, we had a fire hydrant, gushing. It gushed for a couple of days. Nothing was never, said about that, and the taxpayer, of course, assumed the cost of that hydrant until we were able to get the parts to fix it. So, I mean, I have no problem giving a reduction in this bill.
Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. 3-3. It's a tie vote, it fails. Any other motions? Anybody want to make a motion to help her with her payment plan, or?
That's been my preference, so I'd make a motion that the city finance department waive finance fees or late fees and work with her on a payment plan over whatever amount of time seems beneficial to her to help her get that bill paid. I'd make that motion.
At no interest? Is that
Yes.
what you said? Okay. Motion by Michelle, seconded by Jerry. George?
She mentioned about a possibility of, and this is the first I've ever heard this come up, of doing community service. Is that something that could be possible? I mean, I don't ever recall a request like that before, but I think it's certainly something we could look at. I mean, I don't know how we would go forth with it, but,
Well, it's a unique suggestion. I think to do that sort of thing would require some kind of planning here that we probably aren't prepared to say that we can do tonight, but.
Probably be less expensive to reduce the entire bill with the community service unless there's a program set up.
Yeah.
Does take staff time. I think it is an excellent suggestion, but since we don't have it set up, I don't know how that would work.
let's look at something like that into the future.
Okay. Other comments?
Well, my only comment is if the council's reluctant to reduce the monetary value of the bill, then this seems to be at least an appropriate step in the right direction.
Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Mayor?
Yes.
Is there any idea as of right now what that would be in reduction? She said.
It's not a reduction, but on the
I mean,
payment plan.
Yeah, the no interest.
Yeah, there are no penalties in place at this point, and we just make sure that there wouldn't be for some period of time.
Okay. And, I mean, would we be talking through the end of this year or something like that?
I think that would
Would
make
that be
sense.
reasonable?
Or 12 months total.
Are you up
I
to
think total
12
of
months?
12 months from the time that's agreed upon. But
I
that's-
like 12 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes.
Item 3.4 was distributed on Friday. It's a request for off-site gambling permit for the Eagles Club to be used at the Steamboat Days beverage tent, June 18th through the 20th.
I would have moved to approve the gambling request.
Second.
Motion by George, seconded by Michelle. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Under unfinished business, item 4.1 is to award the contract for the 2015 Franklin Street reconstruction project to the low bidder, TJ's Trucking and Excavating, with a bid of $463,952.50. The engineer's estimate was $467,674.
I move to adopt the attached resolution.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, I think I heard Jerry second it. How long is this work gonna take? Somebody asked me today.
That's always hard.
Weather permitting.
Weather permitting and blacktop permitting usually is the one that drags it out at the end, but it could last a good part of the summer.
Okay, so it takes as long to do this short section as it probably did the rest of the other.
It all depends on when the asphalt shows up.
Okay. So we don't know.
Nope.
All right. Al?
Just comment on the whole process of bidding. I mean, we had, how many bidders here? It was a wonderful bid. I mean, it's nice to see all of the interest in here, but, I went through the individual bid reports and kind of looked at what was the most advantageous bid for each part of this project, and it was really all over the board. And I appreciate the contractors who are taking the time to look at each of these projects we bid, and I think this bid process gives us and the taxpayers of Winona a really good opportunity to save some costs as far as, just dealing with one or two contractors and whatever they might bid for a project like this. I think we're going to be well-served, and I think the company TJ's has been a good company in our community and projects they've done, so I'm certainly in favor of this award.
Is this the same company that did the other parts of Franklin?
They've done a lot of work for us, and I think they run that also.
Any other questions? George?
Just to jump ahead here just a little bit, how is this resolution different from 5.10? We're talking State Aid Street Reconstruction Project, Franklin Street from Howard to Sarnia.
5.10 is better getting into the assessment process, assessment of the water services.
Okay,
So this is just a word of the project itself.
okay.
All right, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Under new business, item 5.1 is the environmental review requirements for the Winona HRA.
I would move to motion to authorize the mayor to sign the appropriate certifications and checklists.
Second.
Motion by George, seconded by Jerry. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm sorry, I had a comment.
Okay.
I guess I don't have any comments about this particular motion, but I've heard from some folks, and I would ask, and I'm sorry, George, I didn't get a chance to talk to you before the item came up, but I know years ago, the Housing Redevelopment Authority had some recreational programs for residents, especially in the Maplewood Townhomes area. And given this forum, if you will, I'll vote in favor of this, but I would certainly encourage the HRA to look at establishing some continuation of the recreational programs that were done in the past for the residents and especially for the children in the Maplewood Townhomes area. So that's my comment.
point.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to,
Sure.
you know,
Sorry,
make
I
those
didn't see your
comments.
hand up.
No, that's okay.
All right. Any other comments? George?
Could you have Linda come up and just touch on this?
Sure.
The programs that you were referring to back when you were on the board were funded through the Y and through the agency. Right now, our board is supporting the Kids First program during the school year. Last year, we were able to do that after school and
Good.
entertainment program during the summer. We are not this year. However, we are working with the school board and providing lunches. And SEMTAC is running the Head Start program also through the summer. So we do have some activities going on.
Good.
Unfortunately, the funding has been a problem with the federal programs too,
Yep.
but we try to keep busy all year round.
Yep, appreciate that. Thank you.
Just so I understand this, you do have a lunch program in the
The
summertime
school
there?
district is doing the lunch program this summer,
Okay.
and they're partnering with us, so they'll be providing the lunches, making them. We pick them up and deliver them out to our community center and to Bellevue East, and the kids will be picking the lunches up there.
But at Maplewood, is there?
Maplewood and
there is-
Bellevue
It's there
East.
too, okay, that's great.
Yep,
Yep.
okay.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? All right, now we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.2 is an amendment to the city code to allow for the consumption and display permits. And this is for the Mississippi Explorer Tour Boat. Oh, not specifically, but the request is from them, and it would allow their patrons to bring on board their own alcoholic beverages. Would not be served or sold by the tour boat company.
Move to introduce the attached ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Jerry and seconded by Michelle. Does this require any special liability insurance on their part?
Under state law, it does not. If the city wished to add that into the ordinance, I believe you could, but it is a state-issued permit, and it would take concurrence of the city to issue the permit.
Okay.
But since they are not technically serving, I'm not sure how the insurance would work.
I'm shaking my head, which means I don't know how the insurance would work.
So this would be similar to a private club then?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
You're allowing people to serve alcohol on your premises. So whatever insurance you have would have to cover any liability that occurs on those premises. I'm assuming that they've got commercial general liability insurance that would cover the boat and the activities on the boat. So whether or not they have dram shop liability insurance or anything like that, you know, they would be subject to those statutes.
I don't know very much about this, but I know that when we have events at the History Center, there's a requirement for, make sure that there's insurance coverage in place for when alcohol is served. And I didn't know if that was the case here or not. Okay. That's my only question. Any other questions, George, Al?
Well, the only thing, the observation I have is that, you know, we're introducing the ordinance. So between now and the second reading, you know, we have a chance to clarify your questions, Mayor, and you know, adjust or enact it accordingly.
I think that's a good idea. Just to have that clarification before we do the final.
Does the city have any liability here by approving this, I guess?
And that's a good question.
All right. Well, anything else? We'll vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.3, amendments to the administrative fine schedule.
Staff
would move-
propose a number of increases in administrative fines. They seem reasonable to me, but
I would move to approve the attached resolution for discussion.
okay. Motion by George,
I'll second it.
seconded by Al. Discussion. Michelle?
George, please first.
George?
Okay, my first question, Lucy, I meant to call you today. What triggers an administrative fine? Now, I know council members or the general public calls in to inspections about a certain property, and then what happens from there? And how does this administrative fine play into that? And how does it not play into it?
First of all, if a complaint is called into our inspections department, we note the complaint and fill out a form. We inspect the property, and then we let the property owner know that they have, for example, if it's garbage, they have 7 days to take care of that and clean it up. I would mention that these citations are discretionary, and so they aren't required before a criminal citation is issued. If we don't see an effort being made, we can issue a citation. Ultimately, what happens in addition to that is the city can order, we have a contractor who would clean up the property, we bill the property owner, we add a $60 administrative fee to that, and if it doesn't get paid, it comes back before the council during the assessment process. So that's a description of the process. We do not issue a lot of citations. They are discretionary, but when we're getting non-compliance, we do want the ability to be able to do that, and these haven't been increased since 2010.
So if there's a complaint filed on my property, and you come down, or whoever, and tells me what the problem is, and so then I comply right away. What,
You would not be issued a citation
or an administrative fine?
or an administrative fine.
Okay.
Michelle?
Why didn't we increase all of them on here? If it's a compliance issue, why did we only pick a few of them to increase? Because I'm guessing all of them haven't been increased over the same number of years.
We took a look at the ones that we most commonly are dealing with. And we did the ones related to the Community Development Department. We reviewed all of the fees, and we took a look at public nuisance, garbage, weeds, the most common complaints that we do receive.
And how many have you written out in the last 15 years?
I don't have that number.
Okay.
We wrote one out this week.
And if these people challenge it, it goes through the court system then?
Correct.
Okay. Instead of just going through the office, then if they challenge you or they don't pay, we are taking them to court for $200.
It gets referred to the city attorney, perhaps Chris, the city attorney could answer.
Mayor and council, the violations are a misdemeanor under city code. So basically, the administrative charge allows the property owner to comply without having to be prosecuted, versus if they choose not to pay the administrative citation, then it comes to our office, we will then criminally charge them, and we will go to court and prosecute.
Okay.
But we only do that when there's, a pattern of non-compliance here.
Sure. And Lucy, I'm fairly certain many of these haven't been written out, because I'm in that, that area with these people that would be targeted with this. How much, is this like a change in the way that the department is gonna operate? I know in the past, your department has made a great effort, and not just with landlords, but in general with the community, to reach out to them and communicate with them and try to get compliance through, a friendly conversation versus a fine. Because in the reading of it, it makes it sound like you're having a huge number of issues getting people to comply. And I'm just curious if we're changing the way we're operating within the community then through that department.
We're not changing our operations. We do a lot of community outreach. Our ultimate goal is to get the property owner to comply with whatever the complaint is. We're successfully doing that. This is just another tool in case we're having challenges with a particular property owner. It gives us some leverage, but we're not changing our policy and how you
operate.
carry that out.
The only thing I will point out then is I mean, obviously in the summer, because there's not the safety issue with the sidewalks, because it's not snow and ice. So most of them have enough time from the mailing to respond. My only concern then would be during the winter, when obviously owners of properties are not occupying the property, it's posted, you mail it and you get it the day after the city's shoveled. And in many cases, it's probably the tenants that are responsible for that. How frequently would you then go to find someone who has that happen because a tenant or they don't hear about it until after the fact? The worries I've gotten from phone calls is that because you're strengthening the amount here, because I'm not gonna say 200 is probably too worrisome for bigger landlords, but if my neighbor has a rental and it's her one and the tenant didn't mow, I mean, they're just worried about what that would mean for them. Or if it's multiple times the tenant fails to live up to their end of the lease, are you going to then fine them?
Again, I would answer that by saying if we have a continual problem with a property that time and time again is not removing the snow, whether it's the tenants or the property owner, perhaps the administrative fine would be implemented. But generally, we are notifying the owner. We are putting it on the door of the property so
Yes.
that the tenants are notified, and then we mail. Our ordinance does require the 24 hours for property owners and 12 hours for commercials. So if we wanted to provide a longer period of time, we'd have to change that ordinance.
No, I understand why it's 24 hours for snow removal, but it should be understood that landlords won't get that before you go to shovel, because they don't live there and tenants throw that away and don't tell you that
Right.
it's tagged. So I don't know if there's another way to, if it can be an email system for landlord, or for people that want to sign up for it. All I know is there's no way they can comply with that. Now, 7 days, anyone can comply with that, but 24 hours for a non-occupant is, that's where the landlords I've heard from are concerned with this. Because in most cases, if it's a house, the tenants are required to maintain the sidewalk, to take care of the garbage, although the 7 days allows them time. So that's where I've gotten the worrisome complaints, and because it seems so targeted towards rental only, or that's the way it appeared in the paper. So that's where I'm trying to make sure it's clear to everyone how you're still operating or what your plans are.
Certainly, and again, our whole goal is compliance, and actually these apply to all property owners, the snow removal, the garbage, the public nuisance, not just landlords and rental. There wasn't an intent to gear it toward that. It's all property owners, and like I said, the nuisance complaints are what we're most challenged with. And I guess to answer your question, most of the landlords are very good about clearing snow, and if their tenant is required to remove the snow, they would still drive by to see that that's happening, and we would encourage them to continue to do that. But when we have continual non-compliance, this is another tool available.
I just wanted to clarify that, because it did read as if, in the papers, it read as if it was specific to landlords, and so then I got the phone calls, and when I read this, I did see that it includes every type of property, but I just wanted that to be clarified.
Sure.
So I really appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah, Gary?
I don't care, if you raise it this amount, it's still a lose proposition for the city. I know it barely covers the administrative cost, especially if we have to hire somebody. In the event that you, and it is a rental, and we hang the sign or hang the notification on the door, may or may not be read, and we know it's a rental, so each question, it's getting down to a fewer number. Can we, in those few cases, just pick up the phone and call? Because the number should be right there at the door anyway of who owns the property. If it's an absentee landlord, if they get the call, more than likely that'll be taken care of before we have to go through any issue and then go through all of this administrative cost. Only on those cases where it is a rental property and you have to hang it up, can we just follow it up with a simple phone call right then? Is that a possibility? And maybe you're already doing that.
Yes, and we can check into that procedurally and get back to you with what a plan is, or Michelle mentioned an email list. We can check into what method of notification would be most efficient.
Because I know in my neighborhood, I don't get all of them, but before I call you guys, I'll walk up to, if somebody calls me on a problem or I see it, I'll go take a look at that helpful sign that's in front, I'll call them, and it doesn't take 24 hours and it's fixed, in almost all cases. So, you know, the landlords are happy, it doesn't go any farther, and the neighbors are happy, it gets taken care of. So, you know, they seem to be relatively responsive, because it saves them money to jump on the problem right away. So I've never had a problem picking up the phone and calling them right then. It's done within 24 hours. Snow is a different situation, I understand that, that's totally different, but the other stuff, it's pretty fast.
Are churches considered residential for the 12 or our 24-hour notification?
I would say that a church is probably a 12-hour. I'd have to take a look at the ordinance to see.
I think
but it's
that
not
maybe need to be revisited, because a lot of churches do not have full-time staff to do that. And secondly, a lot of church offices aren't manned, so that if they do stick something on the doorknob, it may be several days before they get notification. In addition to that, I think it was last winter or the winter before, we had ice and we had sub-zero temperatures. And so while the snow was removed, the ice was still there. And it's a different issue to try to remove the ice, even though it's more dangerous. Sometimes it's better to leave the snow, and it's less hazardous than to try to deal with ice. But I think that since a lot of these churches are not, you know, there's not someone there every day, 7 days a week.
No, but most of those churches, and I know the one you're talking about, I worked there for 6 years doing that very thing. They're on call, and as soon as that first flake falls, they're there, and if it's not a paid person, it's usually a volunteer. I'm assuming our churches are probably taken care of relatively well in this community.
Well, I'm just saying is that we got notification for the ice.
Yeah.
And the fact is, we do it all with volunteers.
Right.
So a notice on the door, you know, is nothing. It really doesn't do any good, because no one may go in that door. They typically would go in the door from the parking lot and never see it on the door. And
Good point.
somebody puts it on the front door, not the office door, you know. And particularly when there's 6 doors to get in the place.
They usually are corner lots with huge amounts of sidewalks too.
Yes, so it's something to consider.
Okay, thank you, Lucy. Do we have a motion?
Yes.
We do, okay. Thought we did. George?
Yeah, you know, I've had some phone calls on this today too, and thinking it was just a target against landlords, which it is not. It's also private homeowners as well too. You know, the bottom line, cut your grass, shovel your snow, keep your property clean. We can raise this to $1,000. And I know many landlords out there, many property owners, it wouldn't affect them one bit because they are always in compliance. That's all they need to do. And if this will help someone keep up their property a little bit more, you know, certainly all for it.
Jerry?
The complaint I heard, and it may or may not be true, is that in most cases, the landlord association was kind of notified of any bad news ahead of time. It's easier to swallow. And they weren't notified, so all they heard about it is either through the grapevine or the newspaper. So it may be in the future, and I know we used to do that, maybe it did, or it's a one-time mix-up, but I think in the future, this would have gone a little easier had they known about it ahead of time. Or did they?
No, we did not notify them, and when there are issues specific to
Okay.
landlords, we generally discuss with them ahead of time. You know, for example, when we required a rental application and for taxes to be paid in current before certifying a rental, we communicated with the housing association. Because this pertains to all property
Okay.
owners, we didn't specifically go to neighborhoods nor the housing association.
Gotcha. All right,
But we
thank you.
will in the future.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's reasonable to raise fees every so often. It's been a while. George?
Just one question, kind of what Jerry asked there. Do we have a liaison from the city to the landlord association? I know one city employee is someone designated now to work as a liaison between the city and the group?
Yes, we're available, and we attended, I know, their last open house and introduced our inspector to the group.
Okay.
So we are working and can certainly go to the meetings. And I believe that our building official and inspectors are notified of them, but I'll double check on that.
Okay, because I think we should have someone with the group, so.
Well, we got it. I just got one more question. Now that we've got a new inspector and some different things going on, are we getting back into a rhythm of not just being reactionary, but also actionary as they're putting on tons of miles driving around town? If they see an infraction, to jump on it then rather than waiting for a complaint? So I know for a while we got pretty good. We go up and down throughout many years on the city. And I know each time you get new personnel, either it improves or not, takes a shorter or longer learning curve. I'm assuming it's getting better?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
And item 5.4 is the demolition fee amendment.
I'd move to introduce the ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Al, seconded by Michelle. Any discussion? Hearing George?
Yeah, could Lucy just clarify
You wanna
this?
address this, Lucy?
Yes, the demolition fees that were charged previously were based on the cost of the demolition project. That's very uncommon, and in our discussions with the city attorney, we took a look at what the actual time involved is in the inspection. And we also surveyed other cities, including Red Wing and Northfield. And typically, there's a flat fee for demolition permits. And so we're recommending the change to be more aligned with what the actual cost is to the city.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.5 is the approval of the draft RFP for the Development Code update.
I would move to approve this the proposal.
Second.
Motion by Al and seconded by Michelle. Mr. Moeller, would you like to say a few words about this?
The RFP that we're asking you to certify tonight is a product that was started during last budget consideration. At that point, staff came to you with requests to update our core development code, ordinances primarily being zoning, subdivision, site plan, because those generally haven't been updated as units for decades, essentially. Over the years, we've made a number of changes to most of these codes in some form, but they have not comprehensively been updated, in some cases since 1959. So the purpose of the RFP that's before you tonight ultimately would be to retain the services of a consultant who would help us reframe these ordinances. The project would be funded by $50,000, which was authorized for this year, 2015. We're estimating a total cost of $100,000. Obviously, we'll be coming back to council with a request for the second part of that for next year, but we will be making that request. Several weeks ago, the mayor did appoint an advisory committee consisting of Councilman Thoroughly, Wendy Davis, Chair of the Planning Commission, Lucy McMartin, Carlos, and me, to interview consultants and ultimately come back to you with a recommendation for a consultant. That group is the group that formed the RFP that you have before you tonight, and that's the group that will, once we receive responses, go through all of those and, like I said, eventually come back to you with a recommendation for a contract. So, this is something that you'll see fairly regularly, even after the project starts. If you have a chance to go through the RFP, you can see that there are a number of triggers where public, planning commission, council, and other stakeholders will be involved in the process. So it will be fairly open. Planning commission will be the steering committee to the project. So we're now looking to create a new group to be the steering committee. We feel that the planning commission is more than able to handle that job. So again, should the council concur with the RFP that you have before you tonight, what we would ask you to do is to authorize its release. Within the next couple of days, we would then distribute that to as many consultants as we can find. We'll be trying to find somebody that's Minnesota-based, somebody who has a good understanding of Minnesota law and planning. Given that schedule, our hope is that by the end of July, we'll be able to start the project. So, and then that will continue throughout the rest of this year, presumably into some point next year. So we're hoping to be completed with this by, at the very latest, the end of next year.
Thank you. It's a big undertaking. Al?
Well, I appreciate the mayor appointing me to this committee, and I can say that there has been a thorough examination of what the needs are. And this RFP is a little more flexible, I guess, than a very detailed RFP, but it's by design to hopefully generate interest among those consultants who really have an interest in looking at what we've proposed and being able to produce a document and a process that reflects the community with a lot of community input. I think that's the thing I like, is that there's opportunity during the process to comment on it, to see how it's going to go forward. I know that as part of the process, the city staff has kind of compiled a list of things that over the years have concerned them. And as they work with the consultant that'll be eventually selected, those concerns will come forward so that the product will reflect not only the best practices for our community, but also answer concerns that have come up over the years of our current zoning and process regulations that we've had.
George?
Now, there'll be open meetings for the public where they can come and attend, correct?
Yes.
Now, as far as stakeholders, what are some examples of stakeholders that we would be counting on?
We might include, we haven't fully defined that list yet, but an example might be the chamber, Main Street, who's got a vested interest in the downtown area, council, planning commission, maybe board of adjustment, some of our other core commissions and boards.
Housing association.
The housing association, we'll include whoever we can. Want this to be as open of a process as we can, and to allow for input throughout the whole thing. So we'll be developing that list more specifically, but that's just a general idea of what we'll be looking at right now.
Both universities, would they be involved? Okay. Or all three universities, I guess, are technical college, so. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.6 is the orderly annexation agreement between the City of Winona and Wilson Township.
I'd move to approve the attached resolution.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by George. I guess I would say there's a letter in here that was sent back in February to the Wilson Township folks. They wanted to put it off until their annual meeting, which was in March. They wanted to consult with an attorney. They haven't reached any kind of a decision, and it expires this Saturday. We think it's a good thing, good program. We think it was both good for the city and for Wilson Township, and taking action tonight at least takes care of our needs, I think, to approve this, and hopefully before Saturday, Wilson Township will also approve this. So, I don't know, any questions about this or comments?
I think the last agreement, I think, helped a lot of homeowners out. Very much so, very big plus to them. So brought utilities that they were not otherwise able to get.
Al?
Well, I just really in terms of what, you know, when we went into this originally, the fears were of folks in the Wilson Township area. I know I attended one meeting in the Wilson Town Hall when they were debating this, and there was a real concern that the city was going to be aggressive in trying to annex the whole township. And I think over the term of this agreement, and I think going forward for the next 5 years, I think we've proven to them that we respond to individual homeowner, landowner requests as opposed to being aggressive in acquiring land for the city of Winona. I think that that's been a good process, and it's benefited both the city, the homeowner, and Wilson Township, because there's a process whereby when we do annex property into the city, there's a diminishing return of tax or reimbursement for Wilson Township over the term of the agreement, that, you know, taxes that they had formerly received from this particular property owner in year one would be at 100%, and then year two and so forth, they would diminish in terms of tax receipts to the township. So I think it's a good thing for both Winona, Wilson Township, and the individual residents that are affected, especially with failing septic systems or water systems.
Mark, did you want to add something?
Just a quick number, 27, that's the total number of properties that we've annexed since 2005. And most of those were developed lots with homes that had on-site sewer systems but didn't have options. And given today's standards, banks require more than that, and so we've been able to help out. But personally, as a staff person who deals with these the most, the process we have in place right now is really, it's slick. We get a request, we don't force anybody to annex. They come to us, they can fill out an application to do it, and we notify the township, bring it to you, and within a matter of a month and a half, it can be done. Without this process, the city attorney would agree, the process would be very cumbersome, a lot more cumbersome than it is now. And in some cases, a property owner may not be able to do it or request it at all because they don't abut city property. So it's a good system. I hope that we continue it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? We'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Item 5.7 is the residential rain garden program.
I would move approval of the attached resolution.
Motion by George, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Al. Discussion?
I'll be voting against this because I think it's a dumb thing. Plain and simple. First, we incorporated a rain tax because we wanted people to not let their lawns grow to slow down water flow. Now we want them to capture the water, which seems that we've collected this storm drainage tax for a number of years, and now we want to give it away in the form of a grant, which I think we just eliminate the rain tax and let people let their lawns grow, and we'll eliminate the runoff or slow it down considerably. So I will be voting against it because I think it's ridiculous.
Okay. Michelle?
Keith, this is through your department, correct?
Yes.
Can you just explain it a little bit so that people understand what we're talking about
Sure.
here?
I'll start, and then I'll ask somebody from Lake Winona Committee to come forward on it as well. But this is presented by that committee, and, well, why don't you come forward and talk about what you're doing? But what we're looking at doing is a grant to supplement creating these rain gardens. And in some areas, Mr. Double might be correct, but with the state government permitting us, forcing us to do some things with the MS4 process, we have to do some treatments, some collection and some things with the stormwater other than just collect it and dump it in the river, which would be a lot easier. This proposal from this group fits into that really well for us. It helps us accomplish what we have to satisfy the state. Chris.
Thanks. Thanks, Mayor and Council, for considering the program, and I want to thank Keith for his work on it. My name is Chris Meyer. I live at 480 West Burns Valley Road. I am a Winona County Extension Master Gardener. I'm on the city's Environmental Quality Board, and I belong to the Healthy Lake Winona group. Rain gardens are a simple concept. It's a low-impact design designed to help treat stormwater. So it's a sunken garden, and you place it strategically far enough away from your house so that you don't have water in the basement. And it isn't supposed to stay full of water. The water collects there during a rainstorm, and it percolates into the soil. So it keeps it from running into the storm sewers. Studies by the U of M have shown that rain gardens are incredibly effective, especially for the price, which is very low, at collecting debris and phosphorus and filtering out nitrates. So they help with the quality of the water by letting it percolate in and recharging the surface waters rather than running off directly.
Thank you. Michelle?
So this is in part of that program where the state is about to enforce some heavy fees and fines on cities that have phosphorus and nitrates running into the river. So you're looking at helping us clean up our streets and rainwater collections so that we can comply with some of the state requirements. Because what I know is coming down the pike, because we live on the river, is that everything that runs down the bluffs and goes in the river or into our storm system is now going to be our responsibility if the levels reach a certain amount. Are we going to look at doing this on some of the city land as well, or are we only looking at installing rain gardens on private property?
This program does it on private property because we want the private property owner to take the maintenance of it long term. We have them when you do a subdivision or any kind of development, they're forced to do stormwater ponds like this. But for this program, we want that to stay on the private property.
Aren't we doing this on city property on on Johnson and 3rd Street by the co-op? Isn't there some kind of plan to put a rain garden on that city parking lot, I believe?
Coming out of the parking lot, yes.
Right. Yeah, Jerry and then Al.
So exactly, I think it's a rather complicated issue. I'm not saying I'm against it. Actually, I think I'm for it. But it's the word "I think" is what's got me here. This is rather complicated. I don't know if we really have enough to move forward with it tonight. Maybe we need to bring it back. The concept about having the gardens is number one. And educational material, good idea. Grants, tougher decision. Where can the rain gardens, if it's on private property, be located? And that's a whole other issue. A lot of questions to be answered, not too sure if, I know I'm not prepared to, I don't want to vote against the overall concept just because I don't have enough information. So I'm not ready to request it tabling, I just wanted to throw that out there for the time being.
Al?
Yeah, a couple of questions, well, one question, first of all, Chris. We're asked for the resolution of 50% matching grant up to $250 per garden project. How many gardens would this proposal fund?
If the gardens were expensive, I think, Keith, you said 5?
We actually went, if they're all at the maximum, you could do 6. But if they're less than that, there could be a lot more. If they're real small gardens.
And the idea is to also kind of just to teach people about it, because a lot of people, in fact, I know people already who've gone ahead, just hearing, we gave a presentation as a part of Earth Day, and I already know of someone who's building a rain garden just because she saw the presentation and isn't going to apply for a grant. But we have 6 or 7 people who attended the presentations at Earth Day and have signed up for the potential of being a part of the program. There's a pretty extensive document. Do they have a copy of the actual proposal?
They have a copy of the proposal, but they don't have the design document that's from U of M.
Yeah, so it's pretty extensive. We're really modeling this program after the one that Rochester has. I took a look at, these are incredibly popular, like most of the metro cities actually have them. But Rochester has one, Owatonna has one. There are some other kind of smaller cities around the state who also have the programs already. And so there is a kind of a set of design principles by which you can design the garden. So you have to do, the document itself, you have to do a percolation test, and it describes how to do it to make sure that it's going to drain. And then it gives you pretty specific rules about how far from your house and not over a sewer and not over a power line, or, I mean, there's a whole set of rules to apply for the program. So it's pretty clear what is and isn't allowed by the design principles. And they'll be judged. So clearly if someone they're doing something that would not be safe or isn't something that's recommended, they wouldn't get the grant.
Okay, so I'm sorry, but
Go ahead, Jerry.
just so I can get a better idea, does this need to be a larger property, or could it be a smaller property that happens to be within the city of Winona?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
It has to be in the city.
the valley, the city proper, not some of, Valley Oaks, et cetera.
The University of Wisconsin, the document that is part of the design document was published by the University of Wisconsin and the Wisconsin DNR. It is the document that the University of Minnesota recommends as a design document for rain gardens. You measure the size based on the average rainfall in Winona for the year, and then what the size is that you're draining. So if it's your roof and it's only half of your roof, then you have a factor that you figure out the exact size and depth of the rain garden, so it should catch 100% of the rain.
Okay,
So they could be, 5 by 10. I have a couple rain gardens and they're 5 by 5.
my concern is where they're gonna be located if it's in Winona proper. If you get a small, before we can go ahead and do this, shouldn't we have something in plan with inspections to state where they can be?
We probably don't want them in the front, they
That's-
probably aren't typically located in the front yard of homes.
Well, what
or
if
in the
somebody wanted it
backyard.
in the front?
Yeah.
Unless we have something on paper or in, the city attorney can help us, but unless we have something written down, it's gonna be harder to, after the fact, say, can't have it in the front.
I can point to a couple of them that are in front yards that are very nice.
Really?
Yeah, if you go to Les Hittner's house up on Conrad Drive, front yard, very nice rain garden. You wouldn't know it's a rain garden. It's a depression.
They're usually a little more formal if they're in the front.
Is there a 3-inch of vegetation limit on height in the garden?
I don't think there's any
Same as my
limit.
grass?
No.
No, I think it would be much different than if you had a flower bed in your front yard.
Michelle, or Al, I don't think you're.
I had the floor before, but,
Yeah.
I mean, we have as a council heard about rain gardens in the past. And when I first heard about it, and I don't know how many, I don't document, the first time I've heard about rain gardens, I was quite intrigued about, this ability to keep rainwater on premise as opposed to sending it to the Mississippi River, and all of the things, as Councilperson Alexander mentioned, that the cities may be obligated to with rain runoff in the future. And I support this as far as it goes. And, I've looked at the rain garden proposal here. You've talked about people who would attend and host a rain garden party. I guess my question is, who would be responsible for coordinating all of that? Chris or Keith or?
So what part of the idea is to also educate people about stormwater runoff and promote rain gardens, so that individuals who don't get the grants put in rain gardens just for the purpose of helping the water quality. So the idea is that if you participate, you have to agree to keep up with your garden for 5 years. You have to submit pictures of it that can go on the city website, so people can come see what a rain garden looks like. And this is also something that the Rochester program does, is that they ask the people who put in a rain garden to have some kind of a public event where they invite friends or family to see what a rain garden is and teach their friends about it.
And second, the rain gardens themselves have to be on private property, not on the boulevards.
Correct.
So people have to need, if this passes, obviously, keep that in mind. Third point is on page 11 of your process here, back about 2 paragraphs above the signature page. It talks about agreeing to indemnify and defend the city of Rochester. I'm sure that should be the city of Winona.
Yeah, absolutely should be, yes.
But
Now you
I
know where
think-
where we
Yeah,
took it.
I do read these, but, I mean, overall, I think this is a good thought, a good concept, and I think, we certainly should move as a community forward on this issue.
And I was just gonna say the same thing. I think trying it this first year to see how it goes, how many participants we get, if they're able to complete the project, I think trying it, because it's going to benefit our community as a whole, especially with, if you check in with the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, they can let you know in quite a bit of detail about what's coming down the pike with the phosphorus and nitrates into the river. This is only one of those things that'll help us offset some of that. So I think it's a great idea, and I think rain gardens are quite attractive.
Well, I appreciate Healthy Lake Winona bringing this forward and doing the work on it. And I'm going to support it because I think it's a good program. I think rain gardens are a great idea. And I think this pilot project will be fun to see, and I think it'll help spur other interest from other people, whether or not this grant program continues or not. I think it's a good thing to have a pilot project like this. So, thank you. George?
When did rain gardens first come to our attention?
A long time ago now. I think we're talking probably 1980. There's,
Okay.
Maplewood is one of the Twin City suburbs that have, it's amazing. They have actually hundreds of them and have been promoting them for a long time.
Okay.
So 10 or 15 years, more than that possibly. Just as more in urban areas, I think probably not so much in more rural towns as in the Twin Cities for a long time.
Am I looking at the cost of it? It's not going to be overly expensive, so be willing to give it a try.
Other comments? We'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Passes. 4-2. I think I heard that.
Next is item 5.8. It's a purchase of a pickup truck for the street department. You have your choice of Midway Ford or Sugarloaf Ford.
I'd move to approve the purchase of a pickup truck from Sugarloaf Ford.
I'll second that.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Al. We're only talking $171.54 difference. I think it's good to go local when you have that small a difference. Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Item 5.9 is the authorization to advertise for bids for a used motor grader.
Move to approve the attached resolution.
Motion by George, seconded by Paul. Any discussion? Michelle?
I just want to commend the staff at the street department for keeping 2 1968 motor graders working for that many years before we had to replace them. I mean, that's older than I am. That's pretty good, right?
We
That's
have
all I
good
have to say.
mechanics.
Al?
I would ask the question that, are there used graders available?
Yes, there definitely are. We have a number of them specifically we'd like to buy off the list, but we can't do that. They're out there.
Okay.
Can't because,
We need to bid them because of the cost,
oh,
but they're available and waiting.
okay.
So Arlen is looking at a few on the list that
Yes,
would meet our needs as a community.
absolutely.
George?
What would be the cost of a brand-new grader?
About $250,000. And we use it primarily for snow removal downtown. So we aren't making roads anymore. So we felt we didn't need a new one in this case, but a used one will work for us.
And this is the best use, the best process to do that. There's no other equipment that would do the job as well as a motor grader for the uses intended.
That's correct. There are specific times when you need that additional pressure and additional ability to plow that you just can't get from anything else besides a grader.
Okay.
Not to
assume that.
confuse, go ahead. You done?
Yeah.
Okay. Not to confuse the issue or anything, but as we're talking about the street department and equipment, could you check and see, a number of communities have these leaf, that people can rake their leaves into the street, the city comes along and picks them up. I don't know what kind of a machine or thing that is used for that, but I would appreciate you looking into that and just get back to me and the council. I think a lot of communities, I know La Crosse does it, Minneapolis does it, Mankato does it, and I think it's a nice service that people would appreciate if it's something we can do.
I will.
If you look into it.
If we look into that, could we also figure out that what the man hours would be, the potential man hours to man, not just the machinery, but the personnel?
And disposal.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.10 is the 2015 State Aid Street Reconstruction Project, Franklin Street from Howard to Sarnia, and this is approving the city manager's recommendation to proceed with the project.
Move to approve the attached resolution.
Second.
Motion by George, seconded by Michelle. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.11 is the 2015 Franklin Street Reconstruction Project Feasibility Report and Resolution Ordering Hearing. The hearing would be set for Monday, June 1st. And again, this would be for the assessments on the water and sewer line replacements.
I'd move to approve the attached resolution, ordering a
Second.
public hearing.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by George. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.12 is the Police Sergeant's LELS 2015 Labor Agreement.
I'll move acceptance.
Motion by Paul. Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Seconded by Michelle. Discussion? Hearing none. We'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 7.1 is council concerns.
We'll start with Paul.
The only thing I'd like is I'd like a copy of the ordinance that deals with prairie gardens, I guess they're prairie lawns. I understand that the ordinance we have clarifies between long grass and prairie grass, and I'd like to have a copy of that. That's all.
Would you send that to all the council members? Sure. Okay, thank you. George?
Okay, thank you. City manager, as we are approaching the budget year coming up, I would ask my fellow council members to be in support of another $1 million for street reconstruction. And if you can find more, certainly feel free to put it in there. So I hope council supports that as we go forth. And then if you could find out, Keith, where we are with the demolition of the Sobieski Park building. I know there was a separation of asbestos and different things, and they had something, they're gonna tear it all as one. So just let council know where we're at on that and when that demolition is expected. And then also, I'd just like to acknowledge, certainly a Winona landmark has closed, and that being the Charlie's D&D in downtown Winona. They've been a part of our community since, I'm gonna say the 50s for sure, maybe the 40s. Okay, 1944. You know, there's people, they're 80 years old, they come to town 85 years old, and they're saying, is Charlie still here, or they're still operating? And we talk about tourism, they did a lot, because the universities, with the people hanging in the place and things and patronizing it, it's been a good establishment, it's been good for our community, and they were definitely a good tenant of downtown Winona. Wish them well in their retirement.
Thank you. Michelle?
Just that I had a fantastic time at the Touch a Truck event, so thank you to the many businesses that participated. Matt was down there entertaining children. It was really well attended. We were lucked out with good weather. This coming week, the Main Street program is hosting a streetscape design program for 5:30 and 6:30 at the Historic Society. That'd be tomorrow? Tomorrow night. If you want to come out and see what, some proposals they have for design in the downtown area, Tad Powers is making 2 presentations. They're looking for community input, so if you have the chance or the opportunity, you should come down to that. And then I believe Wednesday night or Thursday night, Winona is going to be nationally accredited as the Main Street program, one of only 3 cities in the state to receive that award. So there'll be a celebration at Jefferson's at 5:30, celebrating that accreditation. And I think people would like to attend. They would like to have you there. And that's all I have.
Jerry?
I agree with Councilman Borzakowski on the closing of, quite the place, or places, all 3 of them. I was a patron of all 3, and 2 of them I was of the right age. No, no, they didn't do any of that stuff. It was all a joke. It was high school. I was with my sister, and Dee would, she knew, and I could only have a Coke, but I tried. But no, that place is gonna be missed, and they were good people, very, very good people, and I wish them the best in their well-deserved retirement. Also, Keith, if we could find out, and maybe you know right now it's on the docket, or maybe it was done today, the diagonal striping on Main Street downtown?
Yeah, it's done.
How about that? Just ask if it's done. I know last Friday or Thursday it wasn't done, and every time I get my hair cut, then I'm asked by a couple of folks, when's it gonna get done, when's it gonna get done, so. Either you had to get it done, or I'm just gonna have to quit getting a haircut, so
I'll verify that, but I know I had a complaint come in because there was something about the length of them or something, so that, assuming they were done, but I'll make sure.
Yeah, last week they weren't, and that's why I wanted to ask, but I haven't been down there since. So
They're
it's-
done.
It's
They're
so
done.
good, thank you, that's it.
Okay, Al?
Yeah, say hi to Mike for me, by the way. His barber and my barber. Anyway.
Winona's barber.
Winona's barber, yeah. I concur with Councilperson Alexander about, and those of us around the table who have said nice things about the Touch a Truck event on Saturday. I had the opportunity to, along with my wife, bring the 3 grandchildren to the event, and they had a fantastic time. And I have pictures of all of them sitting in one of Winona's police cars, and the officer there was very friendly and helpful, and I think there might be some future law enforcement, perhaps in one of the 3 grandchildren anyway, going forward. But it was a great event, and thanks to the folks that put that on for a great event, and hopefully they'll be able to do it again next year, and be, again, a continued event to come down to downtown Winona. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Under the consent agenda, there are 4 items. The approval of the minutes from May 4th, and the final adoption of 3 ordinances, 1 to amend the site plan ordinance, 1 to amend the shoreland ordinance, and 1 to amend the final plat requirements.
Move to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion by Al, seconded by Michelle. Any discussion? We'll all vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by George and seconded by Michelle. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 We're adjourned.